Welcome back guys to another Empire Wars video. Today we're looking at the maps available on the rank ladder, and we're going to look at them in three different aspects. We're going to look at the description, the openness of the maps, and the resources available. First up we have Acclivity. Acclivity is surrounded by rocky cliffs. Players find themselves exposed with only a few resources at their disposal. It is, therefore, crucial to seek out and secure the surrounding heights. So as you can see guys, with Acclivity you can see the surrounding rocky cliffs on the edges here, and it goes all the way around the map, and also with a central ridge, and that can be a really crucial place to secure for the mid to late game. On the edges you have patches of ibex or deer, and you have your 3-tiled and 2-tiled stones dotted around the map, so this could be a really exposed point of the map that you may have to venture out to with your villagers. Looking closer to home at the map, it's not the easiest map to wall up, especially because you can't actually wall up to the edge of the map, and that's quite a big thing on Acclivity. So whilst it's not the most open of the maps on the Empire Wars rank ladder, it isn't the easiest ones to wall up either. Also to mention that you often start off with a 4-tiled gold pretty close to your main base, but the other golds and stones are fairly outside. They usually spawn outside your woodlines where you would have your natural walls. So early aggression is often quite an important part of the Acclivity game. Next up we've got Eruption. The mountainous volcano holds valuable treasures at its peak, but climbing it will leave you defenseless to enemy attacks from above. Looking at the openness of the map Eruption, we can see that it's actually really quite wallable. Often it looks like the spawns have large wood lines on either side of the base that you can wall to the edge of the map. It does look like the front is probably the most exposed, but with production buildings placed forward we should be able to plug these gaps fairly well. Looking at the map as a whole, we have this central pit of gold. Extremely valuable to get hold of this, but to get to that pit there's this massive climb of the hill. So getting control of this middle could be really important on this map, and it does look a lot like the Gold Rush and Golden Pit maps that we used to in the RM format of the game. Next up is Frigid Lake. With the ice vanishing around the players, food is easily accessible and plentiful. However, their towns are left exposed and unprotected from enemy raids. Some of you may remember a map called El Dorado, which was featured in Hidden Cup 2, and this map, Frigid Lake, looks a lot like that map. You don't have any farmable space around your TC, so you'll need to farm around your mill. In addition, the map is pretty open, and so early aggression will probably be very important. Looking at the other parts of the map, in the middle you have a central fishing area with deep fish as well as surrounding fish on the marshland. Often you'll see in this map a race to dock this and get all this free food. Elsewhere on the map you will find neutral gold and stone, but the main feature of this map are the central pool of fish as well as the TC surrounding area not being farmable. Next up is Greenland. While food is scarce on the mainland, there's no limit to the fish that can be found near the cold and exposed ice caps drifting in the freezing water. Probably the most characteristic features of this map is this central marshland with the shorefish, plenty of them for the taking, free food, and there are some deep water fish as well. We can see fishing ships going for them, and now this kind of terrain, boggy marshland, does go all the way to the edge of the map on both sides. So you will have to cross this marshland to get to your opponent. Looking at the bases themselves, you do have your main gold pile, a primary stone pile, and you do actually have an extra 3 gold piles, so 4 gold piles in total. There are of course a couple of civs that lends itself quite well to this map, in particular the Indians and Byzantines. You can really fight for that middle part of the marshland with the Byzantines. Next up is Lowland. Despite the excellent vantage point, players quickly find themselves running out of resources, forcing them to settle for more unsafe resources scattered in the deep valley. So Lowland is a map of very few resources around your base. You've only got 4 tiles of gold and 4 tiles of stone in and around your TC. The rest of it is actually in the middle. You've got central pits of gold and stone, as well as ibex or deer, and that's the bit you really have to fight for. It's quite an open map. You can wall to the edge with the wood lines, but it'd have to be very expansive. So again, it's probably going to be quite an aggressive map. Next, we're having a look at Marketplace. You have conquered a great trading post, but enemy soldiers are also looking to benefit from this impressive victory. Use the markets to gain an advantage and vanquish the opposition. So Marketplace really reminds me of Atacama. You've got this central forest where you have to find your wood, and you've got small pockets of wood elsewhere. To be fair, there is more wood than in Atacama on these little patches. And on the sides you do have these markets, which are, I believe, just for cosmetic things really. And yeah, you have to go around the central woodland area to attack your opponent, and you've got a decent amount of resources near your starting base. Next up is Meadow. The open meadow offers little to no protection. Forests are limited, and players must fight to gain control of the little wood that the flowering grasslands offer. Meadow's got to be one of the most open maps I've seen in a long time. They've got these wood lines that are very exposed, and they're kind of dotted around the map in 4 chunks. In the corners of the map you do have a little bit of a pond with a couple of shorefish, nothing to write home about. And in the middle you have got a central pit with the 5 relics. Resources wise, you do have quite a bit of gold, very accessible to your main TC, and of course there is stone dotted around, but it's a super open map. Expect really early aggression on this map. Next up we have Mountain Range. With the enormous mountain range dividing the players, it will be crucial to surmount and control the spine of the mountain so that every battle will be in your favour. So as the name of the map suggests, there is a mountain range right in the middle separating the 2 players. It is going to be a highly contestable area with the relics on them, and you have crossings on either side of the mountain range to get to your opponent. Looking at the bases themselves, they're actually fairly wallable with the wood lines to the edge of the map, and you do have a decent number of gold piles and stone piles on your base. In the middle, however, there isn't really any resources to be had other than the relics, and this is probably going to be where most of the battles occur to try and get to your opponent. I can imagine Tatars being a very nice civ on this particular map, taking advantage of the hill bonuses when you can. Next up is the water map Northern Isles. The cold and unforgiving islands of the North Sea leaves you with plenty of resources, but in constant fear of enemy aggression from any direction. Taking a closer look at the map, it was very iconic in Red Bull Wallaloo 4. You start off with a transport ship and a dock, and so early landings was quite common. You have plenty of ibex, and in terms of resources you have 3 gold piles on your main island and 2 stone piles, and plenty of fish around as well. The map does look a bit like a Pokeball with a central island here with gold and stone and a single relic, and of course plenty of fish to be had on this water map. The penultimate map that we're looking at today is Ring Fortress. Your palisades are partially crushed from the constant attacks, leaving you open to enemy raids, but it's time you fight back and reclaim the rich and heavily forested land. Taking a closer look at Ring Fortress, you have palisades around your main base, but they have holes in them, so you have to be very careful. You can look to patch these holes up with palisades, but again, it's very tricky to get them all. Often you might want to wall up your individual lumber camps to keep them protected, but on this map there is lots and lots of resources. You have plenty of gold piles. You start off with your main primary gold and your primary stone inside your ring, and then you have plenty of other gold patches and stone patches around the map. Often, typically, you spawn opposite each other as with most maps, and this is usually quite an aggressive map, but you can wall up, so it's not the most aggressive on Empire Wars. Last but not least, we have Runestones. The open and uncomplicated land surrounding the players makes it the perfect battleground to find the most potent and brightest warrior thirsting for supremacy. Taking a look at Runestones, often called and thought of as the Arabia of Empire Wars, it pretty much looks like Arabia. You've got woodlines scattered around, often semi-wallable. It can be walled up on occasions depending on the spawning of your buildings, and the resources spawn is very, very similar to Arabia. In the middle, you do often have a relic, and you've got your resources dotted around as usual with the gold and stone, often equally placed. You do also have extra deer patches though on Runestones, which is not necessarily what you'd find on Arabia. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this short walkthrough of the Empire Wars maps, and if you'd like to see more content like this, do hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. If you're interested in build orders for Empire Wars, do check out the other videos on the channel. Take care guys, and see you on the next video.